feast days of Yahweh, and why should we observe them? Do they actually say anything to us in our modern day? Or have they been done away with? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah. Final day, day 5 of the Torah portion, Emor. Let's go again to chapter 23 of the book of Vayikra or Leviticus. And let's begin reading with verse number 1. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, the appointed times, as we said yesterday, the Moedim, the Moeds, the appointed times of Yahweh, which you are to proclaim as set-apart gatherings. These are not mere parties. These are set-apart gatherings, holy convocations, if you will. Then he says something very important. My appointed times. These are not the feasts of the Jews. The Jews have indeed been the most faithful in all the earth and throughout all history to keep these feasts. And therefore, it's easy to understand one saying they are the feast of the Jews. They are the feast of Yahweh, but it's been the Jews who have been faithful to keep them. Well done, my brother Yehuda. Well done. And I can understand why they would be protective over them. Makes perfect sense. He says, my appointed times are these. And then he says something strange in verse number 3. 6 days work is done, but the 7th day is a Shabbat of rest, a set-apart gathering. You do no work. It is a Shabbat to Yahweh in all your dwellings. No, wait a minute. I thought we were talking about the Moedim. Now he's talking about Shabbat. There is a reason. The Moedim, the feast days of Yah, are founded upon the observance of Shabbat. Let me put it this way. If someone is not willing to observe Shabbat, they may be curious enough to attend a Pesach or Passover Seder. They may even come and pray with you for Yom Kippur. They're not going to put their heart in it, and they're not going to live out these feasts because it's just not there yet. Not until Shabbat is recognized for being Shabbat. Doesn't mean you don't worship any other day of the week. Doesn't mean you don't gather any other day of the week. But Shabbat is the one single day that Yah says is set apart every week. He is set apart in it, he is resting in it, and he invites you to obey him and to do the same. If a man is not willing to keep Shabbat, he is not going to be willing to rightly observe the feast either. So let's walk through these particular feast days. Let's use the more common English announcements of them. Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, First Fruits, and Pentecost. These 4 are observed in the spring every year. Every year. Then we have the fall feast. There is Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacles. Now, let's go back again and use the Hebrew words. Passover is Pesach, the Hebrew word that means to jump or leap over. Unleavened bread is Hag, or festival. Matzot, the festival of Matzot, or Matzah. Habikarim, or the first fruits. First fruits are important. Shavuot is the word that we use for Pentecost, and it suggests the idea of 50. Yom, or day, the word Yom is day. Yom Teruah, the day of the Teruah, the shout, the blast, the loud announcement of the shofar, and the vocal shout. Yom, or day of Kippur, of atonement. And then Sukkot, from which we get the idea of sukkahs, or temporary shelters. It is the feast of the ingathering. It is a time of the celebration where we anticipate the kingdom. So let's go through these, and in large degree, the spring feasts have already been fulfilled by the work of Yeshua. That is not to say, however, that they do not have implications in the days ahead, for they do. There is a original observance and fulfillment, a continuing through Yeshua, and then an additional one that is yet coming. So that's just the way Yah's timing works. With the beginning of the new moon in the month of Aviv, and there's a lot of discussion as to when that is. We'll save that for another time. But we begin our year with the countdown to Pesach. This is a day that takes place on the 15th, or the evening of the 14th, into the day of the 15th of this first month. Passover, or Pesach, is about redemption. It's about the blood of Messiah being applied to the doorpost of our homes. In that original observance there in Mitzrayim, or Egypt, the firstborn were redeemed. The firstborn, or the family priest, the Melchizedek order and the Melchizedek order. So it's about the resurrection of, or the restoration of, is a better word, of our priestly function in Messiah. It's about the ultimate separation between those who walk righteously and those who are yet willing to walk in the darkness and the plagues of unrighteousness. Yeshua is our Pesach lamb. He has redeemed us with his blood. He has reestablished us as his people, and he is delivering us. Hag Matzot, the festival of unleavened bread. We eat simple bread called matzah. It's just flour and water. Really no taste much to it, but it will sustain you. We eat that for 7 days. We remember the simplicity of redemption. On the day that they left Mitzrayim, or Egypt, they didn't have time for their bread to rise, so they ate bread that had not risen, no yeast action in it. We eat the simple bread remembering that this is the beginning of our walk in Messiah, not the conclusion. You being born again is just you getting started. There's maturity to be observed. We observe on the third day, HaBikurim. We bring the first fruits of our barley harvest. And most of us don't raise barley. And in this culture here in the United States, it's really not a seasonal right time to do so. So we waive the first fruits of the resurrection. Yeshua, he rose on the third day. He is the first fruits of the resurrection of a brand new life. So we celebrate the risen Master Yeshua on HaBikurim, giving thanks for life that is to be found in him. And then we do something you're not going to hear about from most pulpits, and that is that we count the Emor. This is the counting of Shabbat, 7 Shabbats, 7 sevens, 49 days, beginning on HaBikurim. And we count, we celebrate, we look inwardly, we get the garbage out of our lives, we count up to the 49th day. Every day we're inspecting ourselves, we're looking at ourselves, we're maturing, we're asking for infilling. On the 50th day, which is where we get the word Pentecost, Pente meaning 50, on the 50th day, Acts 2 says that when that day had fully come, that there was an outpouring of the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. This is also seen in Exodus chapter number 19 and 20, the giving of the Torah, the Word and balance with the Spirit. And we celebrate the wheat harvest with leavened bread, because now we've come to maturity and the Spirit gives us life and flavor. It's more than redemption. Redemption has brought forth tasty bread. We go into the fall feast. We look at Yom Teruah. It's the day that we celebrate the first day of the month. The only feast day is on the first day of the month. We welcome our King who sends shockwaves with the sounding of the shofar. 10 days later, we're on our face and we're repenting and asking Yah, not just for personal redemption, but for the nation of Israel. Have mercy on Israel, O Yah. 5 days later, we're at Sukkot, tenting, tabernacling, celebrating, the arrival of the kingdom, the rule and the reign of Yeshua, who will reign upon the earth for 1,000 years. In short, that's the feast days. Let's celebrate them. Shabbat Shalom. See you again next week.